My daughter, back in July of 2019, was murdered by her husband of 12 years, leaving behind 3 of my granddaughters. And my fight with CPS and Children and Family Services has been absolutely horrific.
And our very special guest, Lucinda Pennington from Missouri. All right, let's take another call right now. Let's go to Hope. Hope's in New York. Hope, did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
Hi, Vincent. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Oh, good, great, because I'm watching you guys live here on my laptop. I have a little bit of both. I'm going to try to incorporate all of it at once into my questions. I do have a question for Brian. I have a question for Lucinda. And in the final, I'd like to ask you one question, if you don't mind, Vincent.
Go ahead.
Just brief to get Brian and Lucinda caught up really quick. I did have a consultation with Vincent, and one of the best things he advised me in our consultation was, number one, to breathe and to take care of yourself first. And how grateful I am for that. And just really quick, Vincent, you might remember you and I talked, and that my daughter back in July of 2019 was murdered by her husband of 12 years. Leaving behind 3 of my granddaughters. And my fight with CPS and Children and Family Services has been absolutely horrific. They pretty much said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to train these little girls, ages 5, 3, and 2, with Sesame Street videos of how to have a relationship with a parent that's incarcerated. And he's going to continue with his parental rights. And we're going to allow your other daughter to have kinship. I had no say. My daughter, who was murdered, had no voice. There was no trauma care or anything like that. I had to seek all that on my own, and I've been fighting for going on 2 years now. It'll be 2 years, the 29th of July, that she was murdered. Now, I did like everybody else did, panic. What do we do? Where do we go? What attorney do I need? I found that here in New York State, the swamp is deep, as Vincent would say, and it's a deep swamp here in upstate New York. And there's been a lot of collusion, things like that. I have thought about doing the civil right issue, going that way, and filing a 1983 claim. That I've learned all this stuff on this show. By the way, I am so grateful for you people. You have no idea. I talked with plenty of other attorneys on different avenues to take or whatever. I could file a complaint with the federal U.S. Marshal. I could also do one with the state. But many times I've heard the same thing over and over again, that that's not probably the best route at this point, even though everyone who participated in doing what they did to me was illegal, and there should be accountability, but I can't get to that right now. My focus is on the best interest of my daughter's children. Now, being a grandparent, I have learned, and hopefully this can help Jose a little bit, don't give up hope. I was informed that as a grandparent, we have no rights. But in my particular case, and another friend of mine who's a grandmother here in New York, she has been using the family court law, the family law, under extraordinary circumstances. And she's done a lot of research in the case law of extraordinary circumstances, and her particular situation is similar to Jose's, where she's the grandmother, she had her grandson, and all of a sudden, the daughter's not in the picture. CPS came in and just took the son right out, whatever. So she has made progress by using the case law under extraordinary circumstances. How that came about is that's my position. Under the first line in extraordinary circumstances that would exist in a case, from what I've learned, is if a child's in foster or if one of the parents are deceased. And in my case, both of those, just from reading that, exist. But CPS and they've intercepted every attempt for me to even petition the court for that. They just don't want to take any blame for it. So, long story short, here we are. I'm listening to you guys now. I'm focused on the solution. I'm not in the fight mentality anymore. I want to put together something strong where when I'm ready to petition the family court again, I want to have my ducks lined up. And because the last round I went through with an attorney was more interested in appeasing the CPS and the court than using actual law to defend my case. So I guess, Brian, my question for you, being a therapist, I don't know really a whole bunch of your background or anything like that, but it had crossed my mind that there would be a possibility in the future in my family court case that I could request a forensic pathologist for what my granddaughters have been afflicted to. With the Sesame Street videos and pretty much programming them to, and even though they were in the house the night of the murder and watched the murder, it's been documented in the end docket, but CPS is still enforcing the reunification with the father. And I won't settle for that. I want his rights revoked, but I can't get through the door yet, but I'm going to. But if I have done something on the lines of taking all my documentation, which thank God when I started going through all this, I journaled. I didn't even think of it as a documentation. I just journaled. And there was a lot going on in my life with finagling the kids and the family and trying to figure out what happened to my daughter. Then the pandemic struck and that put off the murder trial. And it was just a couple months ago that he was convicted of her murder. And he will never see daylight again. But my grandchildren have to go visit him at a state penitentiary, maximum security state penitentiary, and I'm not happy about this. So anyway, going into the mental health field and what this is doing to my family, still in trauma, that we have to take these girls to visit him. And, the developmental stages of little children at this phase of life. Along with us being victims of this crime, being placed in that position to have to go take these girls to go see them. Any ideas or anything you could add into the mix of what you could suggest of possibly contacting or researching or whatever that could strengthen my case on the mental health end of the situation?
Well, I think, in terms of strengthening the case, I'm not, I think I'm going to leave that to Vince, but I would say as far as the kids, I would be kind of checking in with them and just kind of seeing where they are in terms of
2 minutes.
Their dad, what their thoughts are on the murder. It sounds like they were witnesses to it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
So what have they said about going to visit dad?
Their free will has been taken. They are basically being programmed by Children and Family Services with Sesame Street videos and things like that.
Right.
They're all about.
What have they said specifically about, like have they told you whether or not they want to go or whether they have any fears of dad or?
One has said they don't want to go. The other one is afraid of their dad, but wants to go. Okay. She's only 6 years old. Okay. My 4-year-old. See, I haven't seen him, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, because of their age, they can't really, the court, they aren't allowed to say whether or not they want to go or not in terms of the court of law. But I would still try and see if you can get some kind of a testament from them through a therapist of what their concerns are, what their fears are, what their thoughts are about visiting dad. But I think for the most part, it would be just giving them space to be able to
1 minute.
talk with you about what they're feeling, what they're thinking, and even maybe giving them opportunities to do it through play, because a lot of times at that age, they're not able to articulate what they're thinking, but they can often do it through play. So giving them things like dolls that'll allow them to enact those family dynamics, and ones that can represent the different members of your family, and see how they act that out. Because partly what that'll do is that'll give you an idea of what's going on in their heads. And then the other thing is that it'll give them an opportunity to process what's going on.
Hey, Hope.
That's what I would talk about with them. Yeah.
Hey, Hope and Brian. Hope, I want you to stay on the line because we're going to finish your call, let Brian finish up, and let you ask Lucinda the question. But we have to take a break right now. This is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. We'll be back after these messages.